So for today, it's just continuation of our discussion earlier or last meeting. So we weren't able to finish number 8, so let's finish that now. Let's reread. As shown in the figure, two aluminum rods A, B, B, C, hinged to rigid supports, are pinned together at B. To carry a vertical load of 6,000 pounds, if each rod has a cross-sectional area of 0.60 inch squared and E is 10 times 10 raised to 6 psi, compute the elongation of each rod and the horizontal and vertical displacements of point B. Assume alpha and theta to be 30, both 30. Alright, so we've solved for the first part, right? The elongation. Now we want to know the horizontal and vertical displacement of this point right here, point B. Yan. So let's focus on this drawing. Okay. Okay. So let's redraw this. Okay. Okay, so essentially we want to know the value of these two here. Okay, let's delete this. Okay. Let's move this here. So this part is what I know. This length, which is equal to this length, and this length 0.072, which is equal to this length. Okay? So I want to know x and y. So before that, let's give value here. Let's call this angle phi. Okay. And then let's call this length L. Okay. Again, this naming is up to you, whatever variable you choose. Okay. So L and y. So if I know L and phi, if I know L and phi, I can solve for x and y using trigonometric functions. So now my goal is to figure out those two using what I know here. Okay. So let's see. So if you've noticed, this is a right triangle, right? And this is also a right triangle. So using those two parts, I can create certain equations. So let's uh, draw those right triangles. Okay. You just do this so that you can see those right triangles more clearly. Okay. There. Let's call this angle. Let's call it beta. Again, up to you how you want to call this. And then, lastly, let's call this alpha. Okay. So those are your angles. So let's see. So what is, using this right triangle, I can use Rodrigo functions to create an equation relating L. Okay. Let's see. Let's say this is a right triangle. So this is a side that I know. This is a angle. This is a hypotenuse. So let's use cosine. Right? Cosine beta equals adjacent, which is this side, over hypotenuse, which is your L. Okay, so that's equation 1. Next, let's use this right triangle. Cosine phi plus alpha, okay, equals what? Adjacent. Adjacent is 0.072, right? So adjacent over hypotenuse, which is again L. So for now, I have a lot of variables, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's rename this phi plus alpha into something else. We need to rename that in terms of beta so that we only have two unknowns. So two solutions, two unknowns, okay? Since this is my first equation. So let's see, what is phi plus alpha equal to? It's equal to this angle right here, okay? So what if we consider this whole angle? Right, that's 180. 180 minus 30 minus beta minus this angle. Can anybody tell me what's the value of this angle? One. Again, ito. What's that? Wala, I don't know. Titigan niyo yung drawing. Makita niyo. Nandiyan na yung sagot. Kirk Lawrence is 30. Oh, by the way, ayun. So, for recitation, you only have one recitation point per person. Okay, so to give chance to others. Okay? Hanggang one lang. So that's also 30. Why? Law of opposite angles. This is 30, therefore this is also 30. You can see it's the same line. So phi plus alpha is equal to 180 minus 30 minus 30 minus beta. So 180 minus 60, that's 120. 120 minus beta. Okay. So this becomes cosine 120 minus beta equals 0.072 over L. Okay, so two equations, two unknowns. You can solve. What's the answer? I can solve for beta and L using this equation. So please solve what's beta and L. Di nyo alam? Hindi kinakaya ng calcu. So cosine 120 minus beta is cosine sine. Cos 120 cos beta plus sine 120 sine beta. So equals 0.072 over L. And cosine beta is 0.12 over L. So sub that here. So that's easier to solve. Okay? So anyway, I'll give it to you. Just try to solve this at home if you get the same answer. So beta is 51.79 degrees. L is 0.19 inches. Okay. And now that I have beta, I can solve for phi. Since again, our goal here is to get L and phi. I already have L. Phi, now using, look here, this is a right triangle. Right angle. Therefore, phi is just 90 minus 30 minus beta. So minus 30 minus beta, and beta is 51.79. Therefore, phi is 8.21 degrees. I have L, I have phi. I can now solve for x and y, your displacements. So x is just equal to, again, using trigon functions, using this right triangle, right? Sine phi equals opposite over hypotenuse. Sine phi equals x over L. Therefore, x is L sine phi. So L sine phi, using these values, you're going to get 0.19 inches. Okay? And then for y, using cosine phi equals adjacent y over hypotenuse L. Therefore, y is L cosine phi. Sorry, this is 0.03 rather, or 0.028. And here, this is 0.19 inches. Okay. So that's number at number 8. Any questions for number 8? None? Do you understand? Please answer yes or no. Number 8. Okay, since you understand, let's move on to the next topic. Generalized Hooke's law. So this is what generalized Hooke's law looks like. So you have this original box, the black one, with dimensions Lx, Ly, Lz. Okay. Now imagine a force in tension along your x-axis, so along this axis. Okay. So as it's being pulled, it's gonna have a change in shape, and there's gonna be a change in each direction. So along the x direction, it has a deformation of this, and then here as well. Okay, this, and this. So using this figure, there's uniaxial loading, meaning there's only one force acting on your object along one dimension. You're gonna get these equations. So strain equals change in Lx over Lx. So where did that come from? Remember, in our one of the first slides, right? Strain is just deformation over original length. So here, deformation is just change in length along that dimension. For example, here, strain in x, so it's just change in L of your x along the x direction over original length Lx. Okay? So by the way, the reason why this is change in Lx over 2 is because it's gonna change in this direction as well. So there's 2, it's gonna elongate or contract along both sides, but the total elongation is just change in L. Okay, so the reason why this is marked as change in L over 2 is because this is also change in L over 2, and the summation of that is change in L. Okay? In case nalito kayo, but may 2 dyan, yun. Both sides. And then do the same for the rest along the y-axis and z-axis is just change in L along that axis over change in or over original length in that axis. Now look here, bakit negative? Well, there's this phenomenon that happens when you contract or elongate a certain object, the rest of the dimensions will contract or elongate depending on the force. So here you can already imagine, it's illustrated in this figure, when you elongate along the x-axis, right, your object will contract along the z and y axis. So there's a decrease in dimensions. So that's why this is negative. Okay. Remember, our elongation or our change or deformation is positive if it's tension or elongating. Then our deformation is negative if it's compression or shortening or compressing. That's why this is negative. Okay. So that's for uniaxial loading. Now, in uniaxial loading, also have what we call your Poisson's ratio. So it's the ratio of transverse contraction or elongation strain, denoted by epsilon t, to longitudinal extension strain, or denoted by epsilon sub x, in the direction of the actual force. So the equation now is V equals negative strain in t over strain in x. So ratio is just a number divided by another. So again, to illustrate, this transverse contraction or elongation is the contraction or elongation along your force. For example, here, yeah, your force is along the x, so that's the transverse strain is along the x-axis as well. So transverse strain over longitudinal strain. For example, here, if it's X, your longitudinal strain will be Y. Okay. For this drawing, okay, our forces are along the Y direction. So it's gonna, here it's in tension. It's gonna elongate along the x-axis. Sorry, it's gonna compress along the x-axis. Okay. So the ratio is T. Again, strain along the direction of your force over X, the one that is perpendicular to your force. And transverse strain is uniform throughout the cross section. So transverse strain equals Y equals Z. Okay. And then, sorry, baliktad. Transverse strain is the one that is perpendicular to your force. Longitudinal strain is the one same direction as your force. So here, longitudinal strain is along the Y direction. Then the transverse perpendicular is along the X direction. So therefore, if it's gonna elongate, the other dimensions will have the same deformation as your transverse strain. So transverse strain equals Y equals Z. And then using these two equations, you can say that transverse strain is also equal to negative V E X. Then Poisson's ratio lies between 0.25 and 0.33 for most metals and 0.20 for concrete. And then you also have these equations. Strain in X equals stress in X over E. Where did this come from? Your Hooke's law. Strain or stress equals strain times modulus of elasticity. So here is just in one direction or the other directions as well. And then here, another equation. Since Y equals EZ, it's going to equal to ET, and ET is negative V epsilon X, and epsilon X has this equation. So just sub that in this equation, you get this. So stress in Y and stress in Z, the stresses along the transverse directions are equal to negative V Poisson's ratio times stress in the longitudinal direction, the same direction as your force over E. Later on in the example, you'll see clearer the differences. Now, when you have uniaxial loading, obviously you're going to have biaxial loading, so meaning two forces. So it's just this equation, strain in X equals 1 over E strain in X minus V strain in Y. So how did we get that? Let's derive. Okay, biaxial loading. Okay. So in biaxial loading, there are two things that's gonna cause strain in one direction. First is the strain, or first strain is due to the force along its own direction or dimension, and the second is due to the other dimension. So that's why here, this is the stress due to its own force, or the force along its own direction along X, force strain along X. Then this is due to another force along a different dimension or direction. So here, you can see the relationship between two strains, or strains for different directions is epsilon Y equals negative V stress in X over E. Therefore, stress in X. Therefore, changing that, since for the second strain, it's due to a loading in Y. So this becomes strain in X equals negative V strain in Y over E. So again, negative V strain in Y over E. Okay, again, strain due to force along x-axis. This is strain due to force along y-axis. And then combining that, that's just 1 over E. And then do the same analysis on all of the equations. Okay, that's biaxial loading. Next, triaxial loading. So here, from the name itself, it's forces along 3 or all of the directions or dimensions. So the equation is just, and stress in x equals 1 over E stress in x. So stress in x over E, stress due to the force along its own dimension or direction, minus here, V stress in y plus stress in z. So this is the stress along the other two directions. So same analysis, just an added force. And it's the same for along the y and z axis as well. So that's your uniaxial, biaxial, and triaxial loading. The last topic for generalized Hooke's law is shear loading. So for the previous topics, we've discussed normal loading. Now it's shear loading. So shear stress causes deformation, much like how your normal stress causes elongation or contraction. The lengths of the sides of the element does not change, but the element undergoes a distortion from a rectangle to a parallelogram to a parallelogram. Therefore, your shear strain, denoted by gamma, is the change in angle at the corner of an original rectangular element. So look at this figure. If you have this original shape, you have your shear stress tau, and it's going to deform this way. And the change in position of a corner of your rectangle is your deformation due to shear, or your shear deformation, denoted by delta S. And then remember, again, one of the first slides, our equation was normal strain equals deformation over original length. The equation is the same here, but now instead of normal strain, we have shear strain gamma. For normal, it was epsilon. Then equals, it's still delta, so delta S for shear over original length L. So that's another equation to remember. And then, using Hooke's law, and your shear stress is equal to G times shear strain. And in our previous topic, it was epsilon equals E modulus of elasticity. It was sigma normal stress equals E times epsilon. So let's write that. So this is your Hooke's law for normal forces, and then this is your Hooke's law for shear forces. So same thing, just different variables. Okay, normal stress, modulus of elasticity. Here, G is shear modulus of elasticity or modulus of rigidity, which is in PA or PSI. And then normal strain, shear strain. Okay. And then there's another equation for G. Shear modulus of elasticity is just E over 2 times 1 plus Poisson's ratio. So relating modulus of elasticity and Young's modulus, that was the equation. Okay. Let's have a few examples. Let's start. Number 1. A rectangular steel block is 3 inches long in the x direction, 2 inches long in the y direction, and 4 inches long in the z direction. The block is subjected to a triaxial loading of 3 uniformly distributed forces as follows: 48 kips tension in the x direction, 60 kips compression in the y direction, and 54 kips tension in the z direction. If V equals 0.30 and E equals 29 times 10 raised to 6 psi, Determine the single uniformly distributed load in the x direction that would produce the same deformation in the y direction as the original loading. So we need an equivalent force that will create the same deformation. So first we need to figure out what is that deformation. So we need to solve the deformation in the y direction. Okay, let's start. So first let's write out our given. Okay. So these are your dimensions. Length along the x-axis, 3 inches. Along the y was 2. Then along the z was 4, right? And then you have these forces. Along the x is 48 kips. Tension, right? Py 60 kips. In compression, correct? And then z tension. 4. In tension. Okay, then we have Poisson's ratio. And then we have E. What else? Okay, so let's draw. So we're gonna look for deformation along the y. So let me draw this figure for you to better understand what's happening. Okay, so forces. So this is your x. This is your 3. This is your 2. This is your 4. Okay? Then your forces along the x is 48, so tension, so away. Right? Next, along the y, compression. So they're downward compressing. Right? So 60. And then along the z-axis, again tension, so away. We want to know the change along the y direction. So change in this length. So to solve, this is triaxial loading, right? Since there's forces along each direction. So triaxial loading has this equation there. And what we're looking for is the strain along the y direction. So again, this is this equation. So I need to solve for stress in y, stress in z, and stress in x to use this equation. So let's solve for the stresses first. That's normal stress, sigma. So normal stress, let's move that here. Okay, so normal stress, sigma x equals px over ax. Again, ready your calculators. Px is 48 kips. All over area. So it's this area right here, right? The perpendicular area to your 4. So it's 2 times 4. What's the answer? 6, correct. So 6 KSI, since this is in kips, so this is KSI. Next, stress in Y. Py over Ay. So Py is 60 kips over A. It's this area, so that's 3 times 4. What's the answer? 5. Yes, correct, Mark. Again, PSI. And lastly, Z, PZ along AZ. PZ is 54. And A is this area. So 3 times 2. What's the answer? 9, correct. Chlorine. Nine KSI. So now I can use this equation. Stress along Y. Stress along Y, again, looking at this equation. 1 over E, sigma Y minus V sigma Z plus sigma X. So 1 over E. So that's just 1 over E. E is 29 times 10 raised to 6 PSI. 29 times 10 raised to 6 times sigma Y is 5 KSI. RE is in PSI. So KSI to PSI is just times 1,000. So 5,000 minus V, 0.30 times sigma Z, 9,000 plus 6,000. Now, aside from that, look here. Okay. So all of our forces are in tension except for the one along the y-axis. So along the y, since it's in compression, our stress is also in compression, right? So therefore, instead of positive 5,000, that should be negative 5,000 since compression. Okay, following sign convention. Then the others are positive since tension. Okay, so please solve what's the answer here. Correct, John? So that, or let's write scientific notation, negative 3.28 times 10 raised to negative 4. So now we have the strain along y. We need to find out an equivalent force along the x direction that will give us the same strain. Okay? And single uniformly distributed load. So a single load that would produce the same deformation or same strain. Okay? So to solve for that, I'm gonna use this. Remember, for uniaxial loading, we have this equation. So we want a force along the x direction. So force along the x direction creating a strain along the y direction is this equation right here. Oh. Right? A force along the x direction creating a strain along the y direction. Yeah. So Ey equals negative V strain in x over E. So Ey, negative 3.28 times 10 negative 4 equals negative b, 0.30. Then sigma x is what we're looking for, over e, 29 times 10 raised to 6. Okay. So what's sigma x? What's sigma x? Correct, Mark? 1 point lang. Anyway, correct, Mark. It's 31,666.67 psi. Now, to get the force, we're looking for force. Remember, stress equals force over area. Okay, so it's not stated here what the unit of force should be, but since our units are in kips, we want our final unit to be in kips as well. So PSI convert to KSI, it's just divided by 1,000. So 31.67 equals PX all over A, and A is this area, right? So 4 times 2. Therefore, what's PX? Wala pang recitation dyan. Wala. O, yung mga may point, ayun, okay. Correct, 253.33. 253. Trisha, correct. So, it's 253.33 actually, not 36. Okay. If you use the full value. Okay. And then again, it was in kips. Right? Any questions for number 1? None? Do you understand? Please answer yes or no. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next problem. Okay. A welded steel cylindrical drum made of a 10 mm plate has an internal diameter of 1.20 meters. Compute the change in diameter that will be caused by an internal pressure of 1.5 MPa. Assume that Poisson's ratio is 0.30 and E is 200 GPa. Let's write out our given first. Thickness 10 millimeters, inner diameter just D, 120 meters. Pressure, 1.5 MPa. What else? Poisson's ratio, 0.30 is 200 GPa. Okay, what's happening? So you have a steel plate. We want to know the change in diameter caused by that internal pressure. Okay, so when you have an internal pressure, right, you're gonna have forces along more than one direction, right? Like the same way we solve for thin-walled cylinders. We have longitudinal and transverse stress whenever you have a pressure in a vessel. So it's the same thing here, right? Your cylindrical drum will experience a longitudinal and transverse stress. And using those stresses, we can compute for the change in diameter, your strain. So let's start first with figuring out your transverse and longitudinal stresses. Does anyone remember what's the equation for transverse stress in a thin-walled cylinder? Tingnan yung notes nyo. What's the equation for transverse stress for thin-walled cylinder? Correct, John. It's PD over 2T. Bigyan na ng point since walang ibang sumagot. Sino yung isa? Bigyan ko na din ng point. Si Mark. PD over 2T. Please compute. P is 1.5 MPa. 120 meters. Our pressure is in MPa, so everything should be newtons in millimeters. So 120 times 1,000 to convert to millimeters, then times 2 times 10. What's the answer? Wait, 120 meters? 1.20 meters, sorry. Not that. Okay. Okay, 1.20 meters, 1.20 times 1,000. 90, correct. Let's give that to Shazel. It's my points na iba. Okay, 90. What's the equation for longitudinal stress? Correct, Lawrence. PD over 40. So 1.5 times 1,200 over 4 times 10. What's the answer? Correct, 45. Kantara, Ponce, may points na pa kami lahat. Yeah. So let's give it to Shao Salaran. First point. Okay, now that I have that, this is two stresses, right? When we have two stresses, the shaft. Okay, so remember in our um, analysis, one force will create, two forces will create a strain along one direction. So here, force along the transverse axis and force along the longitudinal axis will create a strain along a certain direction. So remember, what we're looking for is change in diameter. Okay, change in diameter. So for a thin-walled cylinder, what direction is that? Your diameter, if you're looking for a change in diameter. Is it along the longitudinal direction or transverse direction? Let me draw for you what happens for you to answer better. Remember, if you have a thin-walled cylinder, right, this force is your transverse force, transverse um, stress. Then along the direction of your cylinder is your longitudinal stress, right? Therefore, along what direction is the strain that we're looking for? If it's diameter, change in diameter, is that transverse or longitudinal? Correct mark, it's transverse. Okay, bakit transverse? This transverse force will, as you can see, change the diameter of your cylinder. It's going to increase it if you have a positive pressure. While longitudinal force or longitudinal stress will just elongate the length of your diameter, the length of your cylinder. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, so transverse, we're looking for transverse strain then. So transverse strain is equal to, let's use this equation. Yeah. So this is the strain along its same direction. This is the strain along a different direction. So therefore, for our case, it's stress along the transverse axis. So this will be sigma t, transverse stress. And this will be longitudinal. Okay, so 1 over E transverse minus B longitudinal. So 1 over E transverse stress minus V longitudinal stress. And then let's input our info. So 200 GPa, GPa convert to MPa, that's times 1000. Sigma T is 90 minus V 0.30 times sigma L 45. What's the answer? Correct, John 3.825 times 10 raised to negative 4. Now we're looking for change in dimension, change in diameter. So this is strain. We're looking for change in diameter. As you can see, change in diameter. So that is, so using our basic equation for strain is deformation over L. We're looking for deformation. So this is what we're looking for. So this is 3.825 times 10 negative 4 equals, this is what we're looking for all over original dimension, which was 1.20 meters. Convert that to millimeters, 1,200. So therefore, what's your change in diameter? Correct, 0.459 or 0.46 unit millimeters. Okay. Let's give that to, I think, we already have to. Let's give it to Shazel. There. That's number 2. Any questions for number 2? None? Do you understand number 2? Please answer yes or no. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next one. Number 3. Number 3, a 50 mm diameter rubber rod is placed in a hole with rigid lubricated walls. There is no clearance between the rod and the sides of the hole. Determine the change in length of the rod when 8 kN load is applied. Use E equals 40 and V equals 0.45 for rubber. So here, usually, the elongation or change in length would have just been uh, finding the formation. But since yan, there's no space in between the sides, your rod is being restricted. Okay? Therefore, its change in length wouldn't be the same were it to be free moving. So that means we're gonna look for the effect on its change in length when it's restricted like this. Okay, let's solve it. Okay, again, usually to solve for this is just change in L. We're just gonna use PL over AE. Should have been. However, again, since there's restriction, you're not gonna use PL over AE anymore. We're gonna figure out the effect of the change in direction along this side to the elongation of your rod. Okay, let's solve. So this force obviously creates stress along the x direction. Okay, it's also gonna create stress along the y direction, and since this is a cylinder, it's gonna create stress along the z direction as well, right? So all directions. So therefore, this is triaxial stress or triaxial loading. So in triaxial loading, we're looking for stress in x, y, and z. So that's the first thing we'll do. Figure out stresses in x, y, and z. Okay. Let's write out our given first. 5 millimeters force. And given naman E 40 MPa. Okay. So let's start with stress along x since that's the easiest. Stress is just force over area. So Px over Ax. So Px is just this, your 8,000. 1,000 over area. So this is circular, so it's pi over 4d squared. Pi over 4, and my d is 5 millimeters. 50 millimeters. What's the answer? I'll give it to Peñalosa. It's 2 points lang, diba? So yes, 4.07 MPa. And then, since it's along its or it's towards the object, the stress is in compression. Okay. Next, looking for stress along the y. So stress along the y, it's 1 over e. Okay. We can't use this equation since there's no force along the y direction. Instead, we'll use this equation for triaxial loading. Stress in y minus v, stress in z, plus stress in x. Okay. My problem. I already know stress in x. I don't know stress in y and z. But y and z are the same, right? Since this is cylindrical, z is along this way. Whatever changes along the y direction would have been the same along the z direction, right? So stress in y equals stress in z. Okay. So stress so now we look for it. Stress in y equals or not stress, strain in y. So now we can solve strain in y. That's change in length over original length, right? But there's no change in length along the y direction since it's restricted, so that's 0. So 0, 1 over e, and e is 40 times change in x. Change in y minus v, 0.45. So this is change in y again. Plus 4.07. Now this strain is in compression, that's why this is negative 4.07. Okay. What's sigma y? Correct, negative 3.33. Okay. So now that I have that, again, our goal is to look for change in length. So now I can solve for this change in length along the x-axis, right? Which is equal to 1 over e sigma x minus 0.45 sigma z plus sigma y, right? So sigma y, sigma z. Then we're looking for change in length, and strain is just deformation, which is your change in length over original length. And original length is given 300 millimeters. And 1 over e is 40 MPa. Sigma x is negative 4.07 minus 0.45. Negative 3.33 plus negative 3.33. Right, what's the answer? Now I can solve for sigma L, and what's sigma L? Correct, Carl. Negative 8.05. Or I think it's 8.06 if you use the whole number. Okay, Carl. So it's negative 8.06, therefore final answer 8.06 millimeters, then the negative sign just means it's in contraction or compression. Okay? Any questions for number 3? None? Okay. Do you understand number 3? Please answer yes or no. Okay, great. Let's move on to the last problem. Number 4. Ako na magsusolve. Number 4. The 1.75-inch thick rubber pads are bonded to 3 plates to form the shear mount shown in the figure. Find the displacement of the middle plate when the 1,200-pound load is applied. Consider the deformation of rubber only. Use E 5,000 and V 0.48. Just get that figure. All right. Okay. So we're looking for deformation of this, right? Yeah. Find the displacement of the middle plate. It's this plate. Okay. And it's this plate right here. So let's give you a cross section of that. Now, because of this force, this middle plate will now move towards here. Okay, so it's not able to actually move this way. Okay, this is the last position because it's being restricted by these two pads. So instead, it's gonna deform. Okay, this way. Okay. So this is now your displacement. Okay. So this is your sigma s, and that is what we're looking for, sigma s. Remember, to get sigma s, I need first to get shear strain. So to get shear strain, I think that was shear strain equals tau over G. And I don't know G. G is not given, so that's the first thing I need to solve for. So G, there's an equation for that. It's just E over 2 plus 1 times 1 plus V. I forgot. Let's write out our given. E 5,000 psi, V is 0.48. Okay. So E 5,000 psi over 2 times 1 plus 0.48. The answer is 168.92 psi. You can solve along. Okay. And I'm not gonna ask anymore. And then from this, I can now solve for shear stress tau. So just G times deformation or shear strain. And shear stress. So this is the cross section, right? There's gonna be a force P here. Therefore, there's shear stresses along surfaces in contact. If you remember your bolts and rivets, right? So the shear area here would be this area and this area. Okay? It's gonna be shear forces. shear force B, shear force B. Okay, so therefore, this is equal to B, since there's two areas, over 2 over A, and G gamma. And V is just your force. The force creating this shear forces is this. So that's 1,200 over 2 over area. And the area is this area right here. So that's 5 times this 9. Okay. So 5 times 9. And it's already in inches. That's why no need to convert. Again, shear area is this area. Area in contact or area experiencing shear. So equals G, and G is 168.92 gamma. Okay, so now I can solve for gamma using that equation. Now 1,200 over 2 times 5 times 9. So gamma is now equal to 0.08 inches. Now we're not done. This is just shear strain. We're looking for deformation, sigma S. And remember, to get sigma S is just shear strain times deformation, which is your gamma S over original length L. Okay. So gamma S is just 0.08 equals gamma S over what's L? L is just the original length, which is the height. This is your L. So 1.75 inches. Let's look at the figure. Kung tama. Yeah. L is the height of your member. This is L, this is sigma S. Gamma S rather. Okay. So that this height, so L is 1.75. Now I can finally solve for gamma S, which is 0.14 inches. There. So that's your shear strain, shear deformation. Okay? Any questions for number 4? Do you understand? Please answer yes or no for the last problem, number 4. Okay, great. So I have an announcement. Okay. Sama na natin sa recording. So next meeting, Thursday, wala ako. Kaya I have somewhere to be. So on Thursday, there will be no Zoom meeting. Instead, I'm gonna have you answer homework or seat work. They're basically the same thing anyway. So I'm gonna give you questions about generalized Hooke's law and shear loading on Thursday. Okay, then I'm gonna give you the answers afterwards if everyone has finished answering. And then on Saturday, you're gonna have your quiz number 2. Okay, topic everything I've discussed so far for module 2. Okay? So again, activity on Thursday, no Zoom meeting. Quiz on Saturday. Zoom meeting with video. Okay. All right, any questions? Clarifications? Concerns? Okay, wala. All right. Since you don't have any more questions, you may go. Goodbye, class.